First and foremost, Happy New Year, my friends. Welcome to 2026. Of course, the wrestling train doesn't stop. I am going to keep saying this for the next few weeks, only because it blows my brain. Happy 10 year of making content creation to me. It's not quite yet. It's towards the end of January, but it's so ridiculous. I feel like it is worth repeating. But we'll also throw that to one side, because this video isn't about me. It's about all of us. We are a team. And AEW Dynamite just had their last show of 2025, because 2026 started today, a New Year's Eve wrestling show. Surely that can't be normal for the modern day. I can't remember the last time we did that, but I'm also stupid. But I do have a lot to talk about because one, it ended with us feeling warm and fuzzy in our tum-tum, and two, I do believe MJF has 47,968 opponents for his belt. So let's start off with Willow Nightingale, because it was the coolest thing on the show. I just loved it. I would tie it into what WWE did with the Usos on Raw. That is how I feel like you should end every single show of the year. Because even though it is just fictional dates we've made up in our head, if you can get to the end of December and you do feel good about the wrestling promotion you're watching, in 2026, I should say, you're more likely to go, oh, I want to keep on watching. So seeing Usos win the tag team titles, awesome. Seeing Willow Nightingale beat Mercedes Moné for the TBS title, awesome. Especially because Mercedes held that belt for 564 days. Is that correct? Am I making that up? Most probably. Does that even make sense? But also, she had a big promo. This is why I love Mercedes. People got so mad that I put her in my top 10 wrestling list. No, they didn't. A few of the crazies did. Let's not exaggerate this, but I stand by it. She had done a big promo going, oh man, 2026 is going to be my year and I'm going to continue to climb up. I am history. I am the best. And then she lost. And now she's down to 10 belts, whatever the flub it is. But listen, there are a couple of criticisms if you want to bring to the party, I would certainly listen. One, would have been better if we had teased the Chris Statlander thing throughout December so they could have a big hug? Absolutely. And two, could we have built up Mercedes Moné versus Willow Nightingale more? Yes. It was basically because of that tag team match when Willow got the pin over Moné. That was right. So basically she beat her twice. But I think sometimes it's actually not about the journey, and it is about the destination. Now, of course, you can say, the time and the destination would have been even better had we got all of that, and you would have been totally correct, but you still have to react to what we did get. It made me happy. It made me feel good in my Tootsie Toes. I love Willow Nightingale. Not only is she one of the best babyfaces at AEW, she's one of the best babyfaces full stop in all of wrestling. Her catchphrase is like, even when life sucks, smile. I bastardized that. But, you know, it's words of that ilk. So seeing her celebrate with Harley Cameron, seeing her celebrate with Chris Statlander, especially because you get the whole OG characters, one's the world champion, one's the TBS champion, it's phenomenal. And listen, I'll be the first person to tell you, I don't think AEW is using Chris Statlander in the right way. This was the only time she was featured on the show. Tekla is now having a match with her just because Tekla went, I don't like you. I mean, it's the equivalent of Geese title shot, to be completely honest, which is what I appreciated about MJF. We'll get to that in just one second. But again, these are all much of a muchness. They're things that we can discuss. But Willow winning it. And listen, I have my own reservations because she's also a tag team champion. And this is mostly WWE's fault. I always get worried when somebody has two belts in two separate divisions that one's going to be forgotten about. And it probably will be the women's tag team champions. And I love women's tag team championship matches or the women's tag team divisions in both WWE and AEW. Because when they are allowed to cook, they've never let me down. But once again, this is being paranoid. This is being negative Nancy's. When she hit that second Dr. Bomb and got the 1, 2, 3, especially because Mercedes had got a foot on the ropes during the first one, which made me go, oh, they're protecting her. It was so well done. It was greatly booked. I don't know how many people were in that venue last night, but they all went totally crazy. They all hated Mercedes. They all liked Willow, which meant you had done something right. I can't fault it. And the match was great too. I mean, talk about leveling up throughout 2025. And also Mercedes has the best story now. She can't actually win the big one because she's tried twice to win the AEW World Championship, but she can't do it. And now she's losing all these other belts that you can argue she did go around and bully her way into. It just worked. And sometimes, yeah, of course, you can come up with things that do make sense. What about X and what about Y? But it's Z that we want to focus on today. And Willow Nightingale being the second time TBS champion, right? She's held it before. I think that's true. That is true. They said it last night on commentary. Awesome stuff. Mercedes is actually in a better position for losing because it makes her character more interesting. Where's she going to draw her arrogance from now? It could even result in a big babyface turn like we've done with John Moxley. No notes, apart from all the notes that I have thrown out there. I thought it was good. I thought it was fun. We have to get this balance right between the TBS title and the women's tag team titles. But let's believe, man. Let's put faith in AEW. Otherwise, really, really good and you should watch it. And then, of course, MJF kicks off the show with his belt. He's brought back his Triple B. And I guess the thing that we should talk about is, I believe, I may have got this count wrong, Kenny Omega is a challenger, Darby Allin is a challenger, Swerve is a challenger, Bandido is a challenger, Hangman is a challenger, and Brody King is a challenger. Or at least mentioned this. There may have been somebody else too. That's 7. 7 people that want a championship. Now, the interesting part to all of this is after MJF had said everybody sucks, and Kenny Omega coming on the big screen, I was not expecting. That genuinely genuinely go, well, hot damn. And I think that's exciting because we all wanted Kenny back in the world title scene, and the argument against it is, how's his body holding up? Now, we do not know. I just hope he's okay. Nothing is more important than that. Wrestling is the most important of the least important things. In the way that we see Kenny Omega as a star, and everybody does, you can still argue he's the real main character of AEW, even though it doesn't appear as much as he used to. You want to see that match. You want to see Kenny Omega versus MJF. And I would love Kenny Omega to be a champion for the last time before he does eventually retire. And I only say that because he mentioned that he is closer to the end of the career than the start of his career. So that got me. Then obviously Hangman and Swerve come out. These buffoons, they came out through the fans. So the useless wrestling security stopped them. I was like, if you had come out the our way and repeating Western ups and downs, you would have had a clear path. You've made a huge faux pas there. But anyway, they basically said they're going to kill Maxwell, which was leveled up. He then legs it as soon as Hangman and Swerve do get to the ring. He's the best heel man. He just gets it. Doesn't overthink anything, keeps it simple, but all the best wrestlers do. And then Samoa Joe gets on the big screen. And ultimately, he also wants a shot at his title that he just lost. But Hook and Will Hobbs are taking on Hangman and Swerve in a lights out match next week on Dynamite. Maybe it's 2 weeks. I think it's next week is that, and then 2 weeks is the Bandido MJF match. We should all be terrified by that. Now, the good thing is that we can finally get to this Hook Page confrontation, which we did need. I think AEW's been a little bit delayed on that, but at the same time, Page was focused on the world title in the four-way, so I can get my head behind that. It's going to be disgusting. It's going to be disgusting. The way I look at this, and it's a little bit of a crass tie-in, so please do forgive me, is that when we needed Randy Orton to be more of a credible heel, we put him against Mick Foley, or Cactus Jackie was at the time, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, right, Randy Orton has Edge, not Adam Copeland, he'd go to AEW. Mick Foley then did it again with actual Edge, who was in WWE at the time, and it allowed fans to see them in a different way. I would argue that I like Hook. I still think he has a bunch of potential because he's so young. But he probably needs an injection of that at the moment. And if you're going to do that with modern wrestlers, it's going to be Swerve or Hangman. There's no way some of it can't be absolutely horrific, because if you're going to do a lights out match with those two, especially when they're on the same team, some of the horrific stuff they've done to each other now is the bar, right? That's why people get worried about TLCs and Hell in the Cells. Well, we had Mick Foley get thrown off the cell. How the hell do we now get the same reaction, even though we've completely blown expectations out the water? So I don't want more syringes in mouths or cinder blocks to the head. Or that wasn't that bad, all things considered, apart from the pain. There's going to have to be something here that creates a headline, be it positive or negative, depending on how you want to see it. And Hook, I think, should be involved in order to help his character, in order to help his persona. And Powerhouse Hobbs probably has to do something crazy too, because Powerhouse Hobbs is great and we should push him in 2026. And again, that's by allowing him to plow through people. But it is interesting. We don't 100% know who MJF is going to face directly after Bandido, because I don't think Bandido is going to win. But I will talk about that as well. The fact you have all these people kind of skirting around, it almost to me feels like maybe MJF's going to hold that title for an entire year, and all these people are going to come at him. Or maybe he holds it for 6 months or 8 months and we get to All In, and it's Will Ospreay coming back that eventually takes it off MJF. Like, if MJF does beat Hangman, Joe again, Swerve, and all the other people we've talked about, that's a generational run. And obviously he loves being a generational wrestler more than anybody. So to then eventually lose it to returning Will Ospreay and kind of tie it into, you can't beat me, I've beaten everybody else like a Mortal Kombat tower, and you're in your hometown, I'm going to take away that joy from you, could be really good. But once again, I want Will Ospreay to be happy and healthy before he does return. But I thought it was good, and I thought it did freshen things up. Some people are like, I can't believe Samoa Joe was a traditional champion. Do you see how good Samoa Joe was? Did you hear his promo here where he's barking things? Samoa Joe is one of the best wrestlers ever. If anybody can hold a title and make a short title reign, which does make the product more interesting, because it just does. Fans do get more interested when titles, you can't do it all the time, but you should do it here and there. Samoa Joe was totally the right guy. Samoa Joe is a modern day GOAT. I have no problems with Samoa Joe. But yes, the other big thing we lent into was the fact that Bandido won the Dynamite ring, so now he has to face MJF, and of course that does tie in, because MJF won it for the last 5 years, I think it was, maybe 6, I can't remember, there must be 5, and then Bandido won the 6th. The sword of Damocles hanging overhead, I'm probably reading into this, which I am one to do, is Brody King sort of make it, first of all, Brody King said got some business to take care of, crushed Lee Johnson. And I was like, well, that's interesting. It's not like Brody King needs sort of cementing when it comes to his character. He's been awesome for the last few years. We understand he's an absolute humongous beast. We did that for a reason, right? We've really lit a fire under his ass. They then bump into MJF later. They do their handshake and MJF looks at them like they're absolute buffoons. Brody King was very, what's the word I'm looking for? He wanted to be very clear that when Bandido wins, he's going to get a title shot because they're friends. That's what friends do. I don't know. I could be leaning into wrestling tropes that don't exist. This certainly felt to me like he may be about to screw over his friend. I really hope that doesn't happen. I can't handle it. But at the same time, they're not really in the tag team scene anymore. I always like to think, what is the net positive of all of this? And Brody King in that tag team was awesome, as was Bandido. It's definitely helped them. It was definitely a plus at the end of it. If you're not going to put them back in the tag team scene, and they've already won the tag team titles, why not turn Brody King heel? Like, we probably need a good heel turn at some point. I'm sure somebody has done it recently and I can't remember. But I can't remember a massive heel turn in AEW. They're so going to be one of the last few months, and now you're shouting at your screen, which you're allowed. It's a stupid thing of me to do. I should be more up on that stuff. But either way, start of 2026, I think a feud for Bandido, after, I don't believe he's going to win the world title, right? So he's going to lose to MJF. But I think a Brody King versus Bandido feud could actually be really good and send Brody King off to a brand new stratosphere, which is what he wanted for ages. And again, he's got to be one of the biggest guys that AEW has, so you should pitch him as such, like we did in that Lee Johnson squash match. So there's something exciting here. Now, we'll get to July and I would be like, wow, I made all that up in my own head. But I don't think you need to keep the tag team together any longer if you have bigger plans for both of them. Not that we have to do a Marty Jannetty, Shawn Michaels and send them off on their separate paths. I'm sure you could have kept them together and had like a mini group where they still have singles action. But Brody King as the big bagged scary heel that maybe eventually does win the world championship, because why not? Some people go, well, I don't think that he should. We have to try some stuff. Some people have to get pushed. I quite like it. Now, once again, I fantasy booked my life away here. But if we did do that, once again, net positive I think is high, and actually higher than just having them in a fun tag team when they've already had that massive run towards the end of 2025. It's probably not going to happen, but I put it out there and I keep my fingers crossed. Otherwise, I think Jon Moxley is probably the other talking point from AEW. A complete babyface now, which is super interesting because the Death Riders are not. They're definitely heels. They had that match with the conglomeration. They won by cheating. Claudia Castagnoli Slambo right onto Orange Cassidy. And we are still doing this Orange Cassidy-Tony Storm relationship thingy. Although Tony told us it was totally platonic. They did their ballroom dance again. I'll take that every single week. People say you're running into the ground. Good. Run into the ground, then come up with something else. Be creative. And Mina Shirakawa doesn't like that at all. So now I think we're going to do Orange Cassidy versus Mina Shirakawa. And you know what? I'm good with it. The Death Riders did not act nice here. And even when we had our promo later on and Jon Moxley was like, man, I'm a good guy, and he's going to take on Shelton Benjamin. After he defeated Josh Alexander, essentially John is doing that thing when the C2 finishes. He carries on having Continental Classic matches, no interference, 20-minute time limits, and they're all eliminators. So if you beat him, you then get to challenge for it again. So while he beat Josh Alexander here, I think Shelton Benjamin should beat Jon Moxley next week. And then in the title match, I think Jon Moxley should beat him. I think Shelton Benjamin is awesome, and I think Jon Moxley can handle a loss, as already proven. He's just such a babyface now. I will say as a quick caveat, quick little detour, I thought the explanation for Shelton Benjamin challenging Jon Moxley was hilarious. Well, in last year's C2, Shelton Benjamin almost won. I was like, all right, so why is he getting Jon Moxley won this year? There would have been better ways to pitch that, but again, it doesn't matter. It's a complete nothing. But yeah, when Jon Moxley was cutting his promo and the Death Riders cut their promo, it's Lex Luger and Sting, when Lex Luger was the bad guy and Sting was the good guy, but he was his friend, damn it, so he's going to stand by him. And there was a rumor this week that the Death Riders will not, it may not be the Death Riders turn on Jon Moxley. We may be doing something more unique here, so we wait and see, and I do like that. But Darby Allin, like I say, was also another guy that challenged for the world title. Not challenged, but he said, I need to beat Pac, because I've never beaten Pac yet, and I need to do that. And I also want to climb to the top of the AEW mountain, like I climbed a real mountain in 2025. That means the world title. I just presume that it does. It was Wheeler Yuta that spoke on behalf of Pac, though. We haven't seen Pac for a couple of weeks now, so I hope he's okay. He was meant to be in that, what's it called? Dancing Nuts match. That's not what it was called. Mixed Nuts and the pay-per-view, and it got changed. Hope he's not injured again. Nothing would be worse than that. Although, talking about injuries, we did have another one, and it sucked. Now, I didn't know at the time, but I went and did some reading, and yes, we had we had Ricochet versus Jack Perry for the national title. Defend the national title all the time. Of all the belts that AEW has, that should be the TV one, although there are too many, to be fair. But essentially, Ricochet wins after Luchasaurus is literally taken out of the arena, and the Demand caused interference and distraction, as you would expect them to do. But then, Toa Leona especially ruined this dinosaur, smashed him with the barricade, all these weapon shots. I think he's hurt his shoulder. Again, nothing's been super duper confirmed. But if that is true, I just want to send all the best to Luchasaurus, who had a terrifying 2025. Thankfully, or maybe it was 2024, but anyway, thankfully came back last year, instantly connected with the crowd again, because he's such an interesting character and he's so good at what he does. So to be taken out again is just the worst, and it's not fair, so yeah, I hope he is okay. And Jack Perry, he'll be fine as a single star. He just works better as a babyface. I'm glad we tried the scapegoat stuff, but sometimes you just have to hold your hands up and go, it's not working. He should probably win the national title, Jack Perry. He should probably keep this feud on. The issue now is he's going to need a brand new friend. I can do it. I can be Jungle Boy Woodsman Simon Miller. Nobody wants that. Actually, I would want that very, very, very much. But yes, it did the job, but really it was overshadowed by the fact it felt like Luchasaurus was taking out. But Ricochet and the Demand Group are good. I just love the fact that Ricochet has no redeeming qualities. I've said this on a few videos today, but he doesn't. He's just an awful man. He's just an awful, horrible person that will win by any means necessary. That's why the character works, and that's why it's fun. And he feels nothing like he did in WWE. Some people like to pretend he's the same. You're just grifted, man. You cannot look at them. You could argue it's his twin brother, right? He's put so much effort into this gimmick, and I just think you don't have to like it, but I think you have to give him a bit of credit for doing that. I just think that maybe it should be Jack Perry. I mean, he did get screwed here, so we absolutely could sort of justify a rematch. Maybe Jack Perry versus Ricochet should be a big old feud that we do at least for a month or so. Quite like it. I think they were the major talking points from AEW as well. Again, make sure you check out What Culture Ups and Downs should you want a beat-by-beat or a step-by-step review. I did like it, though. Like, again, the technical Statlander stuff, I was like, man, the Shelton Benjamin explanation was like, all right, you got to come up with something. But I would rather something than nothing. So many times wrestling companies go, just don't mention it. We can just figure it out. But I just liked it. And listen, it could be because it's New Year's and I'm excited and I like the title change at the end, so maybe some things you weren't massively fond of when you were actually watching it in real time kind of fall out of your skull. But I thought it was a very, very fun episode of Dynamite. They planted a lot of seeds. You had the big moment with Willow, but again, there are so many little things going on. You could make an argument that it could be Jack Perry versus Ricochet. You could make an argument that 7 people are going to go after MJF. You can make an argument that maybe Brody King's going to go heel. What's going to happen to John Moxley and the Death Riders? So don't come into my comments. Actually, please do whatever you want down there. But don't tell me AEW doesn't have stories. Once again, you can say they're pants stories. You're allowed that opinion. They definitely have stories. One could argue they have too many stories. But you see it all the time. AEW doesn't tell stories. They do. They really, really do. I just thought that Carl Fletcher wasn't on this show either, unless I've forgotten. I hope he's okay. Big discussion about next these weeks. Not really sure why that needs to be an argument. I think protecting yourself is very, very important. I don't think there's any tribalism there. I think WWE, AEW, New Japan, Ring of Honor, CMLL, please protect yourselves. Listen, as a man that wrestles what many would deem a very safe wrestling style, I can tell you I hurt a lot. Although I've been dropped on my head once by accident. But again, that's the point. It's dangerous. It does happen. So I don't think we need to start pointing fingers here. I think we just need to start realizing that at its very core, hitting the ropes can be dangerous if you do it wrong. So if we can mitigate the risk elsewhere, we probably should. Let's not argue about that. William Regal knows more about wrestling than us. So I think we probably should just listen to William Regal. But yes, good episode of Dynamite. I'm excited about the year, and that goes for WWE as well, because again, they ended on a high. I think there's a magic to all of that. But we talked about the comments. You can drop me a line down there and tell me how wrong I am. I just appreciate you being here. Please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click that video on the screen. Actually, let's put up the 2026 Your Prediction video, because you gave me loads, and some of them are super fun. Otherwise, gridofmind.com/Simon to get yourself some money off fitness supplements. Use code Simon. They have so many cool products coming in 2026 that I'm trialing right now. They never miss as far as I'm concerned, and I die on that hill. Otherwise, patreon.com/Simon316 for my watch-alongs. We're going to start hammering them every day, I think, soon. That's what you want, so that's what I'll give you. Otherwise, Simon316 on social media, TikTok, Cameo, Pro Wrestling T, search for my name. Thank you for all the holiday ones I did over the holidays. Super duper fun. Have a terrific new year, my friends. No matter how good 2025 was for you, I hope 2026 is any better. Even better, I should say. And if you didn't have a great 2025, I hope you can just sort of draw a line under it and move on, because I want nothing but the best for you. Thank you for supporting me as always. And let's get ready for 2026.